Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Sharing the Link. I am your host, Samantha Khan, the Advocacy and Communication Officer here at ChildLinK. In today's program, we will be shedding light on the BUD campaign, which is the Blue Umbrella Day campaign. And this campaign is closely linked to our 1000 Boys project. The BUD campaign, it's funded by Family for Every Child, our global partner. Of course, I will allow you the opportunity to get to know our panelists, and then we will jump right into the program. So in terms of our panelists, we have Mr. Hasani Tinnie, our Monitoring and Evaluation Manager, and we have Ms. Tieanna Jordan, our Advocacy and Communications Officer here at ChildLinK. Mr. Tinnie, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do at ChildLinK?
Okay, good afternoon, Samantha. Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Hasani Tinnie. I'm the Monitoring and Evaluation Manager at ChildLinK. I also support fundraising and research at ChildLinK. So I work closely with the projects to ensure that they're run as planned. And I also help to raise funds so that we can plan and implement our projects.
Thank you so much. Ms. Tieanna, can you also tell us a bit about what you do here at ChildLinK?
Good afternoon, Samantha, and good afternoon to everyone joining us this afternoon. I am Tieanna Jordan, and like Samantha mentioned, I'm the other Advocacy and Communications Officer here at ChildLinK. So I basically manage all social media accounts. I also plan and conduct TV discussions, Facebook discussions. But today I'm very happy to have Samantha here doing that job for me.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Would you be able to tell us, during this month, ChildLinK will be participating in the Blue Umbrella Day campaign, as we know. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the campaign?
Yeah, I can help there. So the Blue Umbrella Day campaign, it's a public awareness campaign that is implemented in countries around the world, in regions such as, on the African continent. We have several organizations that promote the Blue Umbrella Day campaign. In Asia, we have countries in Bangladesh, or NGOs in Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, to name a few, and also in Latin America, where we can consider Guyana. But in 2018, Family for Every Child, which is a global alliance of NGOs focusing on the rights of children, conducted a research called Caring for Boys. And in that research, we discovered that in countries around the world, boys were increasingly at risk, not just girls, but boys were increasingly at risk of being victims to child sexual abuse. So Family for Every Child and the organizations or the NGOs who are in that alliance decided to take some action so that we can address this situation. And one of the solutions was the Blue Umbrella Day campaign, which I think the first one was in 2021. So basically, NGOs in different countries, most years it's about 15 to 20 NGOs who will be participating in BUD, would basically plan promotional activities. So whether it be media blitz or whether that would be conferences or rallies, whatever activities that is suitable to their context to raise awareness of child sexual abuse and boys in particular, these NGOs would promote those activities or carry out those activities so that the public in their respective countries would be more aware of the need to do more to protect boys.
Okay, thank you so much for
yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Jordan.
Yes, I just want to add that this year, actually, 22 members of the Family for Every Child Alliance from 29 different countries will be coordinating events, like Hasani would have mentioned, in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and in the Caribbean. And of course, we here at ChildLinK, we're going to be playing a major part in this.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So also, you know, we would like to think, and I think it's for the general public, the perception of the general public is that it's most likely that girls are victims of child sexual abuse. Can you shed some light as to why is it that ChildLinK decided to emphasize on boys when it comes to sexual abuse?
Okay, sure. Indeed, most of the reports, the significant or a significant overwhelming percentage of the reports of child sexual abuse, not just in Guyana, but in countries around the world, girls are more likely to be the victims. However, what we found, research or data is there. When you look at the reports given to the CPA over the years, we're seeing an increasing amount of boys reporting. Between 2013 to 2020, we saw about 985 reports of boys being victims of child sexual abuse. And within that period, each year, the numbers increased incrementally. So it's a trend that we observe here in Guyana, and it a lot of the findings that a lot of the observations that we made here, we saw that it coincided with what was in the Caring for Boys research, the global Caring for Boys research that I mentioned earlier. So because of that, we realized that we need to do something to address this, because boys are increasingly at risk. When we look at some of the risk factors or some of the social norms that contribute to the abuse of boys, it's similar here in other countries. And one key point to note is that because of certain stigmas, boys are unlikely to report child sexual abuse. Girls are more likely because they do not face the stigma that a boy would have to face. It's a bit more challenging for a boy to come out and to report abuse because of societal perceptions and stigma that can be directed his ways. So we saw that it's very important that we invest in ensuring that the environment is created where boys can either be protected, or those boys who would have been victims of abuse can feel comfortable to report so that they can get the critical services that they need to cope.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it's so true. And I think it also has to do with the fact that boys are being, the upbringing of boys would be different from girls. So that can be a contributing factor as to why they may not want to speak up or report child sexual abuse. When it comes to ChildLinK's focus for this year's campaign, I know it is to bring attention to positive social norms in the aid of prevention of child sexual abuse. What are some of these social norms and how can they contribute to the prevention of child sexual abuse?
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yes, that's a very great question. So first of all, I think people need to understand what exactly are positive social norms. These are basically a simple way to put it, unwritten rules that, are considered socially or culturally acceptable in society, in a group, in a community. And it also helps to promote positive attitudes and behaviors in both boys and girls. And some of these positive social norms that would contribute to the prevention of child sexual abuse, which came out from our Caring for Boys report, are some simple ones that I picked out, which is things like encourage your children to not talk to strangers. I know a lot of parents would be doing that. And, avoid leaving children unattended at home. You need to monitor boys, give them a curfew, both boys and girls. And also, one thing I'd like to point out that was shared in our Caring for Boys report, it's something that was said by one of our respondents, and they said that don't let boys stray, don't let them walk about the place, protect them, keep an eye on them, follow them to school, follow them to church, and do the same for girls also, because here in Guyana, we tend to give boys a lot more freedom than we give to girls, because it believed that, boys are able to protect themselves more than girls. And so that in that way, nothing bad can happen to them. But, Hasani would have mentioned boys, they too are extremely vulnerable to any form of abuse, especially sexual abuse. And of course, this is why we're placing emphasis on the need to protect boys, need to better care for them, and so on.
Okay, I can just add a bit to that. Tieanna raised a few important points. One in particular is the increased supervision. One of the things that we observed was that with girls, abuse, not all the time, but quite often it happens in the home. With the boys, in some cases, we saw a different scenario where boys were being abused outside of the home. Of course, not in all cases. In the research that Tieanna referred to, the Caring for Boys research, there were a few cases where boys were sent to or were allowed to go to sporting activities, and the abuse occurred there at these events. And it's tied into what Tieanna would have said, that boys are given a bit more freedom than girls, because a lot of parents believe that abuse cannot happen to boys. In fact, in the research, we saw that parents said, well, our boys can't become pregnant, so we don't have to worry about that. So we can allow them, give them that freedom to go out and be unsupervised. But unfortunately, what we've seen is that at these unsupervised activities, that's where boys are more at risk. And when we asked boys in the research, what do you think can be done to protect you? Some of the boys would have stated that parents need to supervise us a bit more. Another point I'd like to raise, and I think is a critical one, it's the lack of communication that we observe from the research. The findings of the research indicated that there is a lack of communication between parent and child. What we're finding is that parents are having these conversations with the girls and not so much with the boys. The boys stated that one of the reasons they believe that they were at risk is because they said the parents are not talking to them about things such as sex or child sexual abuse. And some of the parents, in fact, indicated that they feel more comfortable talking to it with the girls as opposed to the boys. So the lack of dialogue in the home contributes to child sexual abuse of boys. So a positive social norm would be to have these conversations with the boys. One last point I'd like to raise is that some of the boys stated that when the conversation, in rare cases, when the conversation is being had with them, it's more of a monologue, as in instructions, don't do this or don't do that. But it needs to be a dialogue. Parents need to understand that they need to speak, yes, but they also need to allow the child to speak, and parents need to listen so that they can understand what are some of the issues affecting the boys. The boys need to feel that freedom where I can come and I can give information to you, or I can tell you something and I would not feel as though I'm being judged, or I would not feel as though I'm going to get licks or any kind of punishment afterwards. So we need to have conversations with our boys. We need to also show them love and affection, because some of the boys stated that we asked them, how do you know that somebody cares about you? And they said, well, when my parents give me money to go to school, tangible things. Hugs and other forms, signs of affection, they're not getting that. So they're defining love as when we get physical things. So when they go out into society and somebody offers them money, they interpret that as love, and then they can get into unhealthy relationships and abuse can occur. So we need to show boys affection, and we need to have conversations with boys, listen to them, and also give them instructions or advice so that they can protect themselves.
Oh,
Yeah, and
definitely.
I just want to add that this all comes back to the way boys are socialized. Parents need to stop telling their boys that, oh, you should be brave or you should man up and those things. When these boys come to them with a concern, come to them to tell them that something has happened to them, parents need to listen to that child, and just create an environment where that child can feel safe, feel secure, feel so comfortable that, you know, they can tell their mother anything, they can tell their father anything, and that it's okay to, you know, just show emotion. It's okay to feel hurt and so on. Yes, so it all comes back to the way boys are, you know, socialized.
And I think also we need to pay attention, parents need to pay attention to mood changes in children. I think that's something that we need to take into consideration, because if your child, you know, your child is usually outgoing, and then your child is, you know, increasingly becoming a bit silent, you need to not just pay attention to that, but to inquire. But all in all, there needs to be a good, solid relationship, a good safe environment where communication can occur in the home. And we want to encourage this because from the research, we found that the level of communications, especially with boy children, it's not what it should be. And this is contributing to them being at risk. But I think if we flip that and start having more conversations with our boys, not speaking to them and also giving them the chance to have their say, I think there's the possibility that this trend of the abuse of boys going upward, that we can see a reverse in that.
Okay, that's such a strong point. And I've noticed that you have made several, you both of you actually have made several strong points on on this social problem. Now, I've also noticed that communication has been one of those strong points, and just not communication, but effective communication where the parents listen, not only speak to their children, but also listen. And we have a tendency of thinking, oh, when we're talking to children, oh, because we are the parent, we are the adult, that we should not be listening. We should just be sending demands and, oh, you should do this and you should do that. But it's important that we take that time to listen, to hear what the issue might be, to listen, to hear where they might be emotionally, what's going on with them socially.
And one more thing I can add, I think in addition to listening, believe. Child, when your child comes to you and give you certain, or tell you, you know, I'm not comfortable with this person, or this situation scares me, believe the child, because too often children would bring certain information to parents, and unfortunately the child will not be believed. So listen, yes, take it a step forward and believe your child when they come to you with certain information.
Okay,
Yeah,
wonderful.
I just want to make a point. Yes, I think that, you know, sometimes for some parents, especially Guyanese or maybe all over the Caribbean, their first instinct, you know, is to lash out at that child if that child come and tell them something that they do not like. Or sometimes the parent themselves, you know, they may be going through something and they didn't even realize it, but their first reaction is to just shout at that child, lash out at them, and so on. And of course, that then the child wouldn't want to come to them with anything afterwards. Like if something serious, like, you know, being sexually abused does happen.
Yes, I definitely agree with you, Ms. Jordan. And it's imperative that we continue to spread awareness on this social issue. Not only with boys, of course, but we also focus on girls. With this particular campaign, though, what is ChildLink's focus for this year's campaign in terms of the BUD campaign, in terms of social media content also, and what can persons look forward to?
That's a very good question there, Samantha. So we have a lot planned for this campaign throughout the month of April in terms of social media content. Our focus will be on key messages, certain key messages like, you know, boys can be victims of sexual abuse. Boys need care and protection too. We will also be posting a lot of messages, you know, with the intention of bringing to attention to persons that boys who are affected by sexual abuse, they are far less likely than girls to ask for help. Boys who are affected by sexual abuse, you know, are more likely to have problems in future relationships. And we're also going to be posting messages about some of the effects of child sexual abuse and so on. We're going to be, of course, focusing on the positive social norms. We're going to be sharing a lot of those findings from our Caring for Boys report, so that persons can become aware of these social norms, and also learn about the statistics, because numbers are also very important. So they'll get to see how many boys were affected by child sexual abuse between the years 2013 to 2020 and so on. And also we're working on trying to get some of these messages in Creolese, because we're in Guyana and Creolese is a big thing. So we want persons out there to understand what we're trying to get through to them, understand the message clearly, and so on. So we're working towards getting those messages also in Creolese, so you can look forward to those throughout the month of April.
Okay, Ms. Tieanna. Aside from posting on social media, are there any other activities that you have in store that you have not already mentioned?
Yes, we do. So coming up on April 15th, that's next week, Saturday, I'm very excited to tell you that we'll be heading to Main Street. And for that day, we have a packed program planned, and we have some fun activities planned, and we'll be inviting our partners, we'll be inviting boys to come out. We also invite, parents to bring out your children to see what we have in store for you on that day. It's the 15th, it's a Saturday. So yes, we are still in the process of finalizing our guest speakers for that day. But what I can say is that, we'll have some very important persons in attendance. Also, we'll have our counselors on the ground to answer any questions that our boys may have, or parents may have, or whoever will be attending. If you have any questions, you can come with your questions. Our counselors will be on the ground to answer those questions. We'll have things like face painting for the kids. And of course, we'll have presentations that will be done on the prevention and reporting protocols for child sexual abuse. We'll have presentation to highlight the positive social norms that help to contribute to the prevention of child sexual abuse. And of course, we'll be distributing brochures, we'll be distributing posters to persons who will be attending. We have some surprises in store for you. So I just want to encourage everyone to come out on that day and have some fun with us as we, try to shed light on the importance of protecting our boys and creating a safe and secure environment for them to grow up in.
Yes, and I would encourage persons to check our Facebook page to look at last year's campaign. There was a lot of fun activities, and if you can check our Facebook page, you can see what we did last year, and we're going to try to make it bigger and better this year. So I invite the viewers to check our Facebook page and look at what we did last year.
My next question to Mr. Tinnie would be, what's next? After we've had the Main Street awareness, what is next?
Okay, well, as I mentioned earlier, we found that abuse with boys occurs in a lot of the sporting activities, or in a lot of activities where boys are outside of the home. So what we want to do, we want to engage various sporting bodies so that we can talk to administrators, we can talk to coaches, and we can talk to players. One of the things that we need to address is the reporting procedures. So if a child is abused in an organization, whether that's a school or if it's let's say at a cricket match or something, there's supposed to be a protocol and standard operating procedure in terms of who does that report go to, and how does it filter, cascade to the point where the child gets some kind of help. And I think sometimes there's a breakdown in that channel, and as a result, the child may not get the help that they need. So we want to engage the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, specifically the department that deals with sports. We want to engage them in SOPs, and we want to encourage them to develop their SOPs for reporting child sexual abuse. We will also meet with football and cricket associations, where we will be meeting with the administrators there, and we're going to raise awareness on standard operating procedures for reporting. to see if they have and to help them to develop so that whenever, if ever, unfortunately, it occurs, at least they will know how to respond to reports. And additionally, we will be engaging some cricket and football teams in Region 3 and 4. And we will be raising awareness with the players, with the coaches on the issue of child sexual abuse as it relates to boys and how boys are vulnerable, how we can protect them, and how they can report in the event that something occurs. But we've done a little bit of that, and I think Tieanna could probably tell us a bit of a recent experience we had with, I think it was some football players.
Yes. So we already had a football competition where we got the opportunity to interact with about 75 boys. And of course, that was held on March 25th. And we were able to keep a sensitization session with them before the football match began. So we talked to them about child sexual abuse, what it is, the effects, the impact it can have on boys. We spoke to them about, prevention and reporting protocols of child sexual abuse. And, it is nice when we get to meet these boys in their comfort spaces, like go to a football match, and it is easier for us to get the information across to them. It's more engaging and so on, and you can see the excitement on their faces, especially when they have to go out and play after learning so much about child sexual abuse. And like I said, we got the opportunity to meet with over 75 boys, and we're hoping to meet with more when it comes to our cricket competition later this month.
At this point, of course, I will give Ms. Jordan and Mr. Tinnie the opportunity to provide us with the closing remarks. Ms. Jordan, you can go first.
Okay, so I just want to encourage everyone to join our Blue Umbrella movement, become involved, so that we can all play a part in learning how to better care for boys, how to protect them, what needs to be done. And also, I want to encourage everyone to follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and encourage your friends and family to also follow all our social media pages so that they can see all the content we'll be posting. I also want to encourage you to like and share our content. And of course, before I go, I just want to say that next week on the 13th, we'll be on 94.1 Boom FM. We'll be on Jumpstart and, promoting our Blue Umbrella Day campaign, which is going to be coming up on the 15th. So we'll be on Jumpstart. So look out for that interview. Hasani and I, we're both going to be there at 7:30 on the 13th on 94.1 Boom FM. With that being said, once again, come out on the 15th, and be a part of our Blue Umbrella Day campaign. I promise we're all gonna have some fun while, learning all about child sexual abuse as it relates to boys specifically.
Okay, thanks, Tieanna. So I'd like to encourage parents. I know you're doing your best, and I know, all parents love their children, but, there's more we can do. Unfortunately, we live in a world where children are at risk. So continue or increase the dialogue that you're having with your boys, especially. Continue talking with the girls, but increase the dialogue you have with your boys. Show them love, show them affection, help them to realize that they're special and they can come to you, and they will be safe when they come to you. I also want to inform parents that ChildLinK, we offer parenting skills education sessions. These are sessions where parents can come in group or individual or one-on-one sessions, and we go through a lot of activities and share a lot of information with parents that can help you to have a stronger relationship with your child so that you can understand them a bit better. And with the parents that we've worked with over the years, they have testified to the benefits of participating in these parenting sessions. So you can reach out to us on Facebook. You can call us on 3500 or 3502. And you can ask for us for information on how you can be a part of these parenting sessions. I'm sure it will benefit you tremendously.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tinnie and Ms. Jordan. I would just like to add for the BUD campaign, where we will be raising awareness on Saturday, the 15th. The duration of the program, it's going to be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And as Ms. Jordan already mentioned, there are going to be a host of activities that are going to be available and for our men and boys to be involved in. I know there are a lot of times where persons will complain and say, oh, you don't pay attention to men, you don't pay attention to boys. So this is that opportunity for boys and men to come out and support and be involved in this campaign. I would like to take this opportunity to both thank Ms. Jordan and Mr. Tinnie for being on the program. You have both left us with a lot of information that we can think about and also use to continue to spread awareness. So I thank you both. I thank our viewers for tuning in, and have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.